everything else we do these mornings. One is that we've been having a really big showing on the days that we've gone out and visited the land, so much so that the sellers have actually asked us to stop. So very happy that all of you who could come, and we'll actually forego the next several first and third Sunday visits that we had planned to visit the land. But if everything goes through, then we'll get the land, and then we'll have a big visit on May 2nd, Saturday, May 2nd, for everybody to see the new parcel of land if everything goes through. So that's one announcement. We're continuing our Zoom meditations, a lot of hours every weekday and on weekends. So if you want a forcing function, if you want to have other people to sit with, it really works for some people. It certainly works for me as a way to encourage myself to sit more than I might otherwise sit. And you've got a lot of friends, a lot of people who are here now will join many of those hours. We've actually got 8 hours a day, every weekday, of Zoom meditation together. So it's fun for those of you who can, kind of thing. And next Sunday, so not tomorrow, but a week from Sunday, February 22nd, Allison, in honor of her birthday, is throwing a retreat, has rented a yoga studio, Blossom Yoga Studio, in Wedgwood, so northeast Seattle, and that's open for everybody, anybody who wants to come. We'll have more information next week, and that will be from 12 to 5 p.m., so all Sunday afternoon, and have more details next week. People can show up at 11:45, and we'll sit and meditate and do walking meditation together, and the theme will be aging and death. Aging and death. Appropriate, probably, in some way. So that's that, and we'll turn it over to Bonnie for an announcement, and then to Louis.
Good morning, everybody. You may have noticed that the last few weeks we have been pretty much at capacity. So we're playing around with the chair configuration. And we may not have hit on the right design today, but we're going to keep working on it. We want to open up more space for people to sit in the front. So don't hesitate to make multiple rows in the front. And we're going to work on having a greeter to direct people to sit, but it's not a bad problem to have. We also have a QR code on the back table because we are at capacity with our chanting books also. So don't hesitate to download the book on your phone and use that through the service so people coming in late may be able to have a book that's available. Also, when you come in, sit next to somebody. When we leave these holes, people who come in late can't find a spot, and they really don't want to walk around and look for a spot. So sit next to someone. 28th, last announcement, the 28th, we need to be out of Skinner by noon. And being gracious neighbors, we're not going to have a potluck, and we won't have coffee and tea, so we can clean up fast and get out of here. And just be very generous to what they give us here at St. Mark's. We will have alms, though. We'll be able to bring alms for the monks that day, but remember, no potluck and no coffee and tea, so bring your own. If it's nice out, we have the outdoor space where people can congregate and meet afterwards if they want. But I'll put out announcements again, and we'll talk about that next week, so thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. And Louis is in the back.
Hello, just again, the continuing kind of partnership and fellowship with St. Mark's for the last 2 years, and this will be the third year we've done a joint service. This year it'll be on June 9th, a joint Tizay service. I encourage you to take a look at it. It'll be on the calendar. My announcement for you all is that I'm going to be soliciting folks who are interested in reading and or chanting. I'll be reaching out to the folks who were involved last year to see who wants to re-up. But Hassa and I are going to be coordinating a little bit of chanting practice, and we're doing that in coordination with Alex's wonderful, delightful chanting group that meets on Sundays. So if you are interested in chanting or reading, contact me. Chanting, more so Hassa. We'll both double team this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Louis. Oh, and one more from Bonnie.
And I'll just talk loudly. There are flyers that Chia made about the land. And if you're interested, she's holding them up. Please look at them and take some and post them wherever you think it might be appropriate.
Yeah, and we did just put out a video yesterday. We had an ecologist named Mike, a friend of Peter Hummel's, come to the land and give a really nice tour. So notes about bears and newts and fungi of different sorts. So a nice video that's just put out yesterday. So with that, yeah, please, Ryan.
And then St. Mark's graciously gives us this space for free. And if you would like to donate, there's a donation box in the back. Yeah, she's holding it up. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, well, we can do some chanting practice now. We can do the Buddha's words on loving kindness. So this is on page 37 of the chanting books. And this is really a chant which wouldn't take that long to memorize. Children in Sri Lanka and Thailand and Burma, Myanmar will memorize this as children, and it's one of the first things that we memorize both in English and in Pali once we move to a monastery. And it's really the kind of fundamental blueprint, in a sense, of how to practice loving kindness, how to practice love in a Buddhist context, in a kind of mature emotional context. So chant this together, page 37. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Okay, so with that still and echoing in our hearts. Let's meditate together. And specifically practicing loving kindness. So in any kind of meditation, it's good to set the body up in a posture, allow the body to assume a posture which is supportive of our mental posture that we're trying to cultivate, to dwell in. And so in the words of this sutta, we want to be balancing two qualities, the qualities of able, upright, and straightforward, so that which is upright, able, upright, straightforward, and gentle, soft, and humble. So letting the body be both able, upright, straightforward. And here you can let the spine elongate. Almost reaching into the earth, stretching down and lifting up to the heavens. This strong central pillar. Able, upright, and straightforward. And gentle, soft, and humble. So here we can allow all the muscles, all the inner organs, the fascia, deep tissue, surface tissue, skin, everything that's not that central column of the spine, all of that can just become soft, humble. And with the body upright, straightforward, and gentle, soft, and humble, you can bring the mind to meditation. And people are, of course, welcome to do whatever practice you're most familiar with or whatever you'd like to do. And we'll just give a little bit of guidance on 3 different ways which do bleed into and feed one another. 3 different ways to practice loving kindness or metta bhavana. And so you can, those who want, can just bring one hand to the heart. And just feeling the tender heart space. Very vulnerable organs, the lungs and the heart here. Breathing and beating. And really connecting with this sensitive heart space. And you can also, or just feel your pulse. If you want to keep your hand in your lap, just a thumb or forefinger on the pulse, on the wrist. And feeling that heartbeat there. And here we do as the sutta says, wishing in gladness and in safety, may I be at ease. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may I be at ease. And seeing if you can really tap into the depths of that wish. And if it's not coming naturally, you can wish that you could wish in gladness and in safety. May I be at ease. And just feeling that warmth and sensing into that wish. I be at ease. And from this central heart space, the first metta practice is to just ask who. As if asking the heart or asking metta itself, who would you like to share metta with? And that can be a person, an animal, a group, all beings. There's no right answer, really just deeply checking in. Okay, metta, heart, who? And just allowing that heart wish to go out to that person or that group of people. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may they be at ease. And the heart may want to stay with one who, or you might find multiple who's coming up in the heart, and that's okay. In gladness and in safety, may they be at ease. Either inviting them into the heart or letting the heart grow so big it can encompass them. May they be at ease. And so staying in this embodied heart space, and the next practice of metta is to ask what. That is, what would metta say? Does it use the words of this sutta? May they be at ease. Words of another sutta? May all beings abide in well-being. Or is it just more simple? Is it just the word metta or the word love? For me, sometimes just the word soft. And really asking, okay, what would metta say? And allow yourself to be surprised. And if you're not surprised, that's okay too. What would metta say? And then allow the heart to say that. Just soft, or love, or metta. May they be at ease. What does that feel like for the heart to say this? What does metta say? And if it's one word, you can say it along with the pulse. Metta, metta, metta. Soft, soft, soft. The third metta meditation is where. Just asking metta, whatever that might mean, asking the heart, from where and to where. So where do you feel metta in the body? Is it coming from this heart space, the solar plexus, center of the chest? Is it coming from the back of the head, from the third eye, from behind the eyes, from the whole body? And to where is it bounded? Are there any limits to metta? So asking metta, just where? And these feed one another. You can practice all three at once. Remembering who you want to send metta to, what metta might want to say, and just where is metta, and how big is the heart. And see if you can rest in a very bright and loving way. last couple minutes, just see if you can, if the mind isn't already big, see if you can let down any walls that the heart has put up. And see if that statement, may all beings be at ease. See if you can feel into a place where that's a true wish. May all beings be at ease. Those living near and far away. Those born and to be born. Those seen and unseen. May all beings be at ease. And just rest in that bright and kind mind.
If you'd like to join me in requesting a Dhamma talk, turn to page 124. And we start with 3 bows if you want. Brahmachaloka dipadi sahampati katanjalianan diwaram ayachata santi dasata parajaga jatika dese tu dhammam anukam bimam pajam. We bow again.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Okay, so it is nice to be here on Saturday morning for me. And this is a really nice community. Today is Valentine's Day. I learned a phrase this morning which I'd never heard before, but it could have been around since 2011. But I've been at a monastery, so I'm not totally up on all the slang. But Palentine's Day, has anybody heard that? Like for your pals, your friends? Okay, I got some head shakes. All right, so it's something everybody knows. Palentine's Day. Yeah, I love it. I wished Ajahn Nisabo a happy Palentine's Day this morning. And then I made the mistake of going on the internet and searching for other rhyming words with Valentine's Day. So if you've got love for all your girlfriends, that's Galentine's Day. And for your bros, that's Malentine's Day. For your dogs, it's either Ballentine's Day or Tailentine's Day. Maybe I should stop. But one of them, which I didn't find on the internet, but which is very much in line with metta, this, in a way, indiscriminate, all-embracing love, is Allentine's Day. Allentine's Day. And we actually got a request last week. Someone realized that today would be Valentine's Day, and they requested, could you give a talk on agape, which is the Greek word for, basically it's a good translation of metta. You know, I think it's the word that's translated in the Bible for the Hebrew chesed. And both of them are used in the Bible, in different versions of the Bible, to mean this kind of all-embracing love. Chesed and agape are used. And in the King James Version, that weird English word, loving-kindness, which is like Buddhist hybrid English nowadays, like that is found, I think, 20 or 30 times in Psalms. So that was kind of the origin when Buddhism as it's making its way to the West, oftentimes will take Christian terminology, Christian phraseology, and repurpose it. So loving-kindness or loving kindness is what King James chose for this agape. And it is, you know, it's a different type of love. Valentine's Day really is about romantic love. And hopefully what all of us are tapping into and more able to see and feel is this broader love, which isn't dependent on, certainly isn't dependent on looks, isn't dependent on any kind of special feeling about a particular person, but is very, very big. It's a bigger mind, it's a softer mind, and yeah, it's a good thing to think about on Valentine's Day. So we did go a little bit into these three different, almost metta methods of the who method of metta, the what of metta, and the where method of metta. And this Buddha's words on loving kindness, and I'll say the page number again, it's page 37 for people online or in person. We'll kind of be using this as a kind of syllabus for the talk, because in this one sutta, the Buddha does speak into or give some kind of suggestions for how to do each one of these methods. And he doesn't say, okay, now I'm going to say the who method, and then I just said it, and now I'm going to say the what method, and okay, here it is, and now I just said it. But this is Pali poetry, so it's very, very concise. Bhante Ji, the abbot of the Bhavana Society in West Virginia, he points out that the language here is very, very succinct. It's like the Buddha is giving these a handful of seeds, and it's up to us. Like pretty much every single word here, except for maybe the chas, the ands, are very, very meaningful, and it's up to us, each of us, to take that seed kernel, that seed thought, and plant it in our own hearts, our own lives, our own families, our own relationships, and see how it might grow. There's a lot to be pulled out from this sutta. So the who method. I think a lot of people, who here has practiced loving kindness meditation before, either on a retreat or great, a lot of people. This is one of the main ways that people, it's very easy to teach. So here we find the who method exemplified in that fourth paragraph. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, small, the seen or the unseen, those living near or far away, may all beings be at ease. So he's listing these different categories, and you say that, and it doesn't even, you read it in Pali, and it doesn't even take 10 seconds, and you read it in English, and it's not that much more. But each one of these categories, especially if the mind is peaceful, if you've been sitting with the breath, or if your body is comfortable to sit into, if you've been resting in some spaciousness, any one of these categories can be fascinating. Any one of these categories can be fascinating. Just those first two, whether they are weak or strong. Either one of those, I actually even thought about doing a guided meditation this morning, spending half the time on those who are weak, that is, the underprivileged, those who are living unfortunate lives. The weak, those who are several generations younger than us or several generations older than us. The very young and the very old. These are periods of dependency and periods of relative weakness. And ourselves, we have periods of relative strength and weakness. So in a guided meditation, if you've been to one at a retreat center, oftentimes the groups, the who's that they will bring people to is, the friend. So this is the first group. So you think about friends, opening the heart to friends. And then benefactors, opening the heart to benefactors, that circle of who's. And then you bring it to neutral people, those who's, the people in the grocery store who you don't yet know the name of, or who you're only starting to know the name of. The people who you see on the subway and might never see again. So all of the neutral people. So friends and benefactors who are typically easier to feel this loving kindness towards. Hopefully everybody, when you put your hand on your heart or just come into this space, you can feel that softness of kindness, that softness of loving kindness, and wanting to share that. So the weak among us, and that can be, oftentimes you'll hear Ajahn Brahm or other teachers, your pet, especially if you've got tiny dogs, they're weak. They're kind of weak, compared to bigger dogs. Not saying anything mean. I like little dogs, but they're weak. They're dependent on us, and we need to look after them. And because they're weak, because they're dependent on us, it's sort of easier to have metta towards. There's actually something called the Benjamin Franklin effect, where there's this story. Benjamin Franklin had someone who was at odds with, an enemy of his, and they had mutual acrimony. They disliked one another. And Benjamin Franklin got the great idea to create some feeling of mutual warmth, to ask this other person. He knew the other person was very much into books, was a big, voracious reader. So he asked this enemy, he asked him for a book. Can I borrow a book? And with that ask, it kind of opened up this place of, it's kind of artificial dependency, but it's a real way to create connection. Oh, you care about books? I care about books too. And similarly with pets, you're kind of opening this space of transaction rather than holding beings at arm's length. You're pulling them in. So letting those who are weak into our lives, into our hearts. So that's often easy. But those who are strong, sometimes it's hard to do that. So this who of the benefactor. So the word in Pali, so you have tassa, which is the weak, and tavaras, which are the strong. And actually in Pali, this is a synonym for an arahant. So here it's talking about spiritual strength. And oftentimes that's also easy to do. So my teachers, your teachers in your life, can I open my heart of gratitude? Heart of gratitude. With the weak, it's easy. The heart of compassion. They're, on some level, they're open to the elements. They're open to, some form of weakness. Whereas teachers, people who we care about, spiritually awakened or spiritual teachers, even just our regular teachers. It was very sweet hearing Peter on the land talk about Mike, the ecologist, as being his teacher. Hopefully it's easy for all of us to open our hearts to those with academic strength, educational strength, intellectual strength. And the next group, which in monasteries or meditation centers, in this who method of metta, they'll say the enemy. who are the enemies. And oftentimes these are people of great worldly strength. And this is a lot harder to do. So once the heart is softened a little bit, you can even the heart can be big enough, can be soft enough to even let those people who are problematic, who are powerful, and really who are creating suffering for others. In a Buddhist sense, if they were wiser, if they had the wisdom to see the suffering that they're creating, they wouldn't do that. So can we open our hearts even to that level of who? And at some point, it is good to include ourselves in this list of who's. Here, when we're starting with the heart, and would recommend this practice, putting your hand on your heart, hand on the wrist, tapping into the heart pulse that way. It can be powerful. It's an embodied practice. It's bringing you back into the present moment. You might notice that the heart rate is a bit, if you're excited or if you're a bit afraid, if you're a bit anxious, the heart rate will be a bit excited, a bit elevated, and you can actually, with a mantra like kindness, kindness, loving, loving, metta, metta, soft, 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 you can actually have an effect on your physiology, actually calm the body down with that way. And it is a mudra. It is a mudra to connect with the anatomical correlate, the heart space internal, which is symbolic of the heart of loving kindness. So you can do this anytime, because it's easier sometimes to go like this, to move the hand from whatever you're gesticulating in the world to just on the heart. Sometimes that's easier than actually generating metta. You say, teacher, somebody says, oh yeah, okay, practice metta. And it might take you 15 minutes to kind of wind down and soften the heart to a place where you can actually do that. But it takes less than a second to actually put your hand on your heart. So those are all who-based practices, starting internally, starting with this self that more and more, and hopefully more and more quickly, you can tap into that actually I do wish myself well. And even if I can't immediately feel that so readily, I wish that I could feel that readily. I wish that I could love myself so quickly and immediately, just as I love my chihuahua or whatever it is. So tapping into that, the who of yourself, and then expanding that to greater and greater who's. So one of my who's was all of you. Ajahn Nisabo mentioned a practice where one of our teachers who visited, a Sri Lankan monk named Bhante Sumita, anytime he goes into a room, he will remember before going into the room, who might be in this room? And then, okay, loving kindness for them. All the who's in this space, may they all be at ease. May they all be at ease. So that's who-based meditation. And you see that, and be as creative as you want. I remember I sat at a Goenka retreat recently, and I found it fascinating to just be creative, super creative with your who's. It can be all of my first grade teachers, everybody with big ears, all animals with short feet, whatever it is, all the birds of the world, all the animals who feed on mushrooms, whatever. And you can be creative with this, and it's a fun way to actually, keep meditation alive. You very much don't want your meditation to become rote. So it's good, you might be very comfortable with a meditation object, but it's good to learn others, because karma, in a Buddhist sense, is happening all day long. It's not just while you sit on the cushion. The word karma just means action, and we're creating action, we're doing action by body, speech, and mind all day long. So realizing how we're doing that and finding more and more ways to tap into loving kindness. So who-based methods can be great, and keeping it alive, keeping it playful. And what-based meditation. So in this sutta, we have the actual quote, which comes up twice in Pali and English. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. And then the very next chant on page 41, we have other phraseology, other words, the what. And you want to keep it personal. You do want it to be personal, but you also want to memorize it so it comes up. Oftentimes, not all of us are spontaneous. Not all of us are creative. So to have stock phrases, which you can bring to mind in a moment, like if you say, okay, I'm going to be spontaneous, have a creative meta phrase now. Yeah, maybe some of you could do it. Anybody? Have a spontaneous meta phrase now. Creatives among you? Say it out loud. We got to have some creatives here.
I love you, world.
Nice. All right. I love you, world. So, but sometimes we can't do that. So having what's that are stock. So here we have the Amaravati chanting book, translation of this. May I abide in well-being. May all beings abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will. This is on page 41, and you can memorize these. Or if you like the Ajahn Jeff, the Dhamma chanting book, may all beings be happy. May all beings have goodwill. Whatever your translation. And do figure out a translation or make up your own. Figure out one word. When I asked you all to say, what of metta? What does metta want to say? One word phrasings can be good as well because they are easy to say. They're easy to say with the breath. Metta, loving, soft, soft, soft. But so is, may all beings be happy. May all beings be free from hostility. On that recent Goenka retreat that I sat, that was really powerful. For me, that is very interesting. May all beings not be angry. And for me, I love that. I loved it then that day, and I've loved it every day since. That is very easy for me to want. That is very easy for me. I just don't want you guys to be angry, at least at me. Don't be angry at me. Start with that. That's great. I wish it for everybody right now. May you all be free from anger at me right now. So good. So good. And the Buddha, it's right there. Avero homi, sabbe sata avera hontu. May all beings be free from ill will. It's great. So this is the what. And taking time. You know, I say it every week or every time I come in. At the end of any meditation sit, it can be good to practice loving kindness, especially in a group sit, for at least the 5 minutes, if not the whole of the session, at least the 5 final minutes. You're priming yourself, you're priming the heart to feel this softness, you're creating a relationship before you say a single word to the people around you. Even before potluck, you're inviting everybody to the heart's potluck. So what does metta want to say? So that's another good question that you can ask yourself. And do spend, the next time you do your meditation session, suggest spend the whole of those 5 minutes just asking metta what it would want to say. And then write it down. Keep a notepad near you to actually write it down, because there might be some stroke of insight. Oftentimes that's how insight works. And if you write it down, you're helping yourself to remember that. Sati, or mindfulness, is its root is actually sar or sarati, to remember. So part of mindfulness is remembering the insights that we have. It's great if we have insights that strike all the way to the core, all the way to the marrow. We don't need to remember them. They create lasting change. But most of the insights that we'll have most days are just on the level of thought. Okay, that's a beautiful thought, or that's something which really clicks with me, and maybe it will tomorrow as well. Okay, non-ill will. So encourage all of you, if you have one takeaway from this, spend your next 5-minute meditation session just asking meditation what it wants to think, loving kindness. What do you want to say? And the final method of metta that we'll talk about today is the where of meditation. And in that sutta on loving kindness, it's in that line, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. That's the 3rd paragraph on page 39. But also it appears on page 43 in the suffusion with the divine abidings a lot of the same language, is I will abide, pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. Above, below, around, and everywhere. And to all as to myself, I will abide with the mind, a heart, encompassing the all-encompassing world. Abundant, exalted, immeasurable, free from hatred and ill will. So this is the where of meditation. And that's great if you can feel into, this is, for me, this is Theravada non-dual. This is hinted at in Satipatthana Sutta, where the Buddha says you can focus on feelings internally or externally, or both internally and externally. You can practice loving kindness in a way which just feels like it has a limit. I can feel the warmth of the heart. I can feel the heart beating. It's surrounded and being hugged by the lungs. But then I go out a millimeter more, and then the mind stops at the skin. I'm like a skin balloon, and the mind just kind of, you reach the end of the balloon, and then you just, I'm a skin balloon. What can I do? But the more you meditate, I think the more you'll start to feel that the mind isn't just trapped on one level, at least certainly on the felt level, the sensation level, isn't trapped within the body. You come up to what would seem to be the edge of the skin balloon, and it actually more feels like a cloud. It feels more like an ephemeral flux. There's just a vibration there. So above, below, around, and everywhere. And in that Metta Sutta, the next words are asambadang averang asapatang, which is translated here as freed from hatred and ill will. But that first word, asambadang, means not crowded. It means not crowded, uncrowded. What would it feel like for your loving kindness to feel uncrowded? Even just asking your heart, asking your metta that question, what might you feel like if you weren't crowded? And so much of the time for many of us, certainly our internal felt sense of the body or our internal felt sense of the mind feels like a knotted mass of steel or of earth or of ice. And here, uncrowded, ice to water, water to space. Ice to water, water to space. And a lot of the language, especially in that suffusion with the divine abidings chant, is liquidous. It's liquid language. Ice to water, water to space. Spreading. It's the same language that the Buddha uses in his similes of the jhanas. You drench, steep, fill, pervade the mind with loving kindness. What would that feel like? Ice to water, water to air, water to space. And as you do reach in your heart, because I think most of us do have walls that we've put up, or it feels like someone else has put up in our hearts, based on being hurt, or based on atrocity, or whatever it is. That's a wall. And you come up to that wall, and we want space. I want to have a spacious heart. And just coming up to that wall, I don't want to push it down. I don't want to knock it down. That's not the movement of metta. Even sometimes you hear about fierce metta. But fierce metta, even fierce metta is not the metta of pushing. So you come up to that wall in your heart, your father, or that guy, or that girl, or whoever it is. That's a wall. Ice to water, water to space. And however long it takes for that wall to be dissolved, or even if it never dissolves, at least my mind is getting softer, getting warmer. So spatial dimension is in the sphere of theater. There's a concept of 3 circles. So they'll teach this to actors. I don't know where I picked this up, but teach actors that you don't want to speak from the first circle. The first circle is when you're talking, you're on stage, and you're kind of, self-collapsed. It's almost exactly like that. Wow. I don't know what that was. Was that me? Whatever. That's the first circle. That's but just self-close. It's the me circle. And the third circle is totally outwardly exuberant or outwardly obsessed. We've talked about this before, about when you're in a conversation with someone. You don't usually use this language, but giving away my power. What percentage of my attention is on the other person versus how much of it is embodied with myself. That third circle is totally externally focused. The circle is external. That's the third circle. And the second circle is inclusive of both. So speaking from that space is more powerful, and certainly loving from that space is more powerful. Bhante Sujato does use the word love to translate metta, and some people don't like that. I think Bhikkhu Bodhi uses loving kindness. Others will use, Ajahn Jeff uses goodwill. But the phraseology, the words don't really mean that much. It's the feeling, it's the who, it's the what, it's the where. And can we inhabit this second inclusive circle that really does want what's best for us? This isn't a facile, this isn't a dopey, this isn't a stupid metta. Really, there's no stupid metta. All metta, all loving kindness does have this aspect of internal wisdom. So how do we embody that and share it? If you like the language of Ajahn Pasano of inviting people, you create that soft, warm heart space in the center of the chest, and then invite anybody you want. Shrink you all down. Just shove them in the heart. Or just invite. You're all invited into this warm heart space. Or you go the language of bigness, just all-encompassing. All of those work. So figuring out what works best for you. And one final share, I learned this from the guy sitting next to me at the Goenka retreat. If none of these methods work, you can do what he did, which I termed in my own mind is like RoboCop metta, where you go like this. You put your hands out like this. And you just shoot your metta. It's like lasers, full body. So figure out whatever skillful means works, and wish you all a lot of love.
Handmayam Dhammakataya Sadukaram Tadamase Sadhu 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 Animodani.
All right, so if anybody has any shares there or has any questions, we have a few. Let's go, please, Scott.
Thank you for your talk, and it's always great to hear the things you have to share with us. So I, as someone who has done the Goenka retreat, and I'm sure there's others here who have done it, I was curious how it was for you. You've done it before you became a monk, and then you've done it now as a monk. I was wondering if you could talk about your experience this time and how it was for you.
No, thank you, Scott. Who here knows Goenka, what a Goenka retreat is? And who has been to a Goenka retreat? Okay, just some people. That was my kind of Dharma door. There are these 10-day meditation retreats that they don't even let you pay until after you've sat a retreat. There's no cost. The last one I did was 21 years ago. And so they're the same all over the world. There's one in Onalaska, Washington, that's what I do with Matt. And they're the same all over the world, the same technique, the same videos. You're learning it from Goenka, that's the name of the Burmese Indian gentleman who teaches it. And it was the exact same experiment, same setting almost. To run that 21 years ago, and then to run it after I've been sitting, been a monk for living at monasteries 20 years, was fascinating. And yeah, and I think it does, the principle extrapolates that we sit, however long we sit every day, whether that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day, which is what, after you've done a Goenka retreat, they suggest you sit, which I really took on religiously after that first sit. You know, we sit from one day to the next, and we don't see that much change. It seems like, okay, same level of greed, same level of anger, same level of delusion, same level of tiredness, from one day to the next. So to run the experiment 21 years ago, and then to run it after being in robes, where we're doing all these things that are fully supportive of the Buddhist teachings, and it was fascinating, very different mind and body, very different mind and body that I encountered. Much more of the water and space, water and air than the ice, a lot less confusion. So yeah, we just encourage everybody. The Buddha has this simile of an awl, A-W-L, where the carpenter will use the awl every single day and then puts it down at the end of the day and looks at it the next day, and it looks exactly the same. But then you, after 30 years, you look at that awl and you can actually see the handprint of the carpenter in the awl itself. And that's kind of how it felt. So just encourage everybody. You're probably not seeing the changes, but hopefully your family, who you see once a year, does see and does tell you that they see the changes. Yes, that's just a very tiny run through. Ajahn Nisbo and I were thinking about doing a conversation called To Go or Not to Go, Inca. We haven't done that yet. I don't know if we will, but so many things. And ask Matt as well, or anybody else. Any other Goenkas? Raise your hand. Yeah, these people can all talk about it. So they are fascinating. And for people who are up to it, I would very much recommend it. And if you're not up for it, I actually probably wouldn't recommend it. So, yeah. But do look inside yourself. Yeah, please. We got up here, Charles.
Ajahn, at the start of the Discourse on Loving Kindness, Buddha says, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. It sounds like there's a behavioral prelude here. Could you say more about how keeping the precepts and understanding and engaging the Eightfold Noble Path may affect the development of these Brahmaviharas?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Such a good sutta. Would love it. Who here has memorized? I know we have some people who've memorized the Metta Sutta. All right, a good number of hands. That's wonderful. It is very much behavioral. The first word, sometimes this sutta is even called, there are a number of discourses on loving kindness, but this is sometimes called the Karaniya Metta Sutta. And that kar is cognate with karma. It has the same root, which means doing. This is what should be done. And it's good to note that a lot of, people in America coming new to Buddhism, a lot of us don't want any shoulds. We don't want any should. Don't should me. Don't should me. So it's good to note that in Pali, there aren't shoulds in the same way. This is what's called a future passive participle. And what's important to note about that is that it's passive. What these future passive participle shoulds have in common is that they have a goal. If you want to be one who has a heart of love, if you want to be one who receives the happiness of the Buddhist teachings, then this is what you should do. It's like cause and effect. It's karma. If you do this, if you want these results, this is what you should do. And it's passive. It's not like, you should do this, or, there are going to be consequences from me. But very much behavioral. And you'll notice that that first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph are all very much, they're not meditative in the narrow sense of that word. They're all things that we do in the world. Be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech. And these are words which both have behavioral aspects and mental aspects. Uju is, or Saka is able in one's work. It's like capable It's you have skilled in craftsman skills even. So it's a very practical sutta. So would encourage everybody to memorize at least, well, these first 3 are wonderful for just this purpose, because the Buddha's training is one of body and speech and mind, learning how to be gentle in speech. And here the word gentle is also both bodily and mental, and it's not just reserved to that qualifier of speech. It's not just, you're not just one who's gentle of speech, but you're one who's gentle, period. So figuring out how to do all these things, but thank you for pointing to that, Charles. And before going on, I would like to just ask if anybody has any who's or what's or where's that they would like to share with the group. Any interesting or non-interesting who's, like who would you like to share with the group? Jin?
Yeah, so I just learned one this morning that touched my heart, and it was Joanna Massey, and how she views anyone in the world. And she said, you know, at any moment, I could die. We could be in some big event, and the person next to me, who I haven't known before this point, might be the person who gives me my last sip of water, or pats my head or does something. And I just thought that was a very beautiful who. Thank you.
Thank you, Jin. Yeah, thank you very much. And we won't have to pass around the mic for these, but Soleil, please, if you want to just stand up and, please.
Yeah, I find it hard sometimes to send other people. So today was nice because I was able to focus on the heart of humanity, to get away from the faces and experiences of people. And then as I was focusing on that, I saw the sun, and I was like, well, the sun is kind of the heart of humanity and all things. And this would be a cold planet if we didn't have the sun. So I was setting my metta to the sun so that I could bring down on all creation.
Soleil, you have so much sun energy. You have so much sun energy. Thank you. Soleil was talking about sharing with the heart of humanity and with the sun itself. So yeah, thank you, Soleil. And yeah, what Jin said, opening this to the seen and the unseen. So people who've passed, our ancestors, bringing them, allowing them to be a who as well. Because in the Buddhist cosmos, that is a thing. It's not death and then just elements. It's a continuum. So, and feel free, we can have more who's and what's and where's, please. Okay.
One of the who's that we use in our metta is often something that's coming up for us. Say a friend has cancer, and then I just say, and to all beings who suffer from cancer, and to all beings who are affected by someone suffering. Let's just broaden it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so that was, just specific categories to a friend who has cancer, and then to all beings, opening up that category, letting down the walls, opening up that space, unboundedness. Thank you. Very beautiful.
I like the word that I use the most for who is you, because it can apply to anything. And so I'll walk around. I also use melodies because it opens up my heart. And when I do you, it can just go anywhere it's needed. It doesn't, to me, you doesn't exclude anyone, including myself. And with myself, it actually feels like the right relation more than just for me personally. So it just goes everywhere.
That's beautiful. An inclusive you, singular and plural, that goes to all beings. That's beautiful. Thank you. And we can share more of those, but let's go to Christine.
So I was listening to a lecture by Will Duncan, and he referenced Joan Halifax and how she's done some research, and compassion is the one state of mind that doesn't take any energy. It kind of like, and then I researched Joan Halifax, and you guys came up because you just interviewed her. So I got a little distracted. I haven't. Did you get any insight into that whole idea? 'Cause it seems to me that all the mind states, the four Brahma Viharas, that all of those are, they don't suck you dry. They kind of like fill you with something that's beautiful or something, I don't know, energy that's...
That's beautiful. Yeah, no, thank you very much. We've had some people bring it up to us. We've sometimes mentioned compassion fatigue, which is a term some people use, whereas other people will take exception to that. Like, actually, you can call that empathetic distress, because compassion, as you're saying, is something that gives energy. And hadn't realized it. We didn't so much lean explicitly. I hadn't seen that research from her before we interviewed her, but just as you mention it, the Mahayana and Vajrayana bhikkhunis and monastics who we've interviewed all have so much energy. Thupten Chodron, Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, who've been practicing compassion in caves, for 11 years, and then coming out and really bringing that care, creating whole institutions and groups to, live that and practice that into the world. Yeah, they have so much energy. It's amazing that they look like light bulbs. So, yeah, would love to hear more if you look into that research, and feel free to share it with us. So, thank you. And would encourage everybody, I think that was 2 weeks ago that we aired that. So, yeah, with Joan Halifax Roshi of the Upaya Zen Center. So, thank you.
We have, could we do someone on Zoom next?
Yeah, please.
The first person with their hand raised seems to be Eugene.
Eugene, please.
Sorry, I need to do something really quick. Okay, Eugene, you should be now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ajon, for the talk. I greatly appreciate it. I wanted to ask you, so in my meditation practice, which includes loving kindness, what I think is PT arises and feels wonderful, but at times causes my mind to become excited, and my body also becomes very sensitive. I wanted to ask how I can work with that skillfully so it matures instead of destabilizes my concentration.
It's good that you see it. So some people won't know that word. He's talked about piti arising, and he's not talking about physical therapy. He's talking about the Pali word piti, which means joy, which can it can be translated as rapture or even ecstasy. And it is this spectrum, and you can change it. And Eugene, it seems like you do have a good sense that it can be matured. You can learn how to, as the Sutta on mindfulness of breathing in this chanting book chants, the fifth way of relating to the breath is to, one trains oneself, I will breathe in, experiencing piti, experiencing rapture, experiencing joy, experiencing ecstasy. And that's allowable. That's allowable in Buddhism. And why a lot of teachers won't talk about it, they don't talk about it at all on a Goenka retreat, is because on a 10-day session, which is such a pressure cooker environment, you don't want to be, we're all so ham-handed when we start off with this way of relating, speaking to, touching the mind. We're all so clumsy that if we were try to force joy into a 10-day retreat, you're going to go to the hospital. If something weird is going, the steam of the pressure cooker is going to explode all over the kitchen walls. So, yeah, being tender with it, and it sounds like you are. You've got this initial flavor of it, and Ajahn Jeff, in a really good article called Jhana Not by the Numbers, Thanissaro Bhikkhu, Jhana Not by the Numbers, talks about, as his teacher Ajahn Fuang and many Thai forest Ajahns will talk about, rather than putting a hard and fast, like metal label on this mind state, piti, sukha, one-pointedness, like a sticky note. Okay, this is joy. This is joy. It's even rapturous. Okay, sticky note. Maybe it can get better. Maybe this joy can turn to rapture, can turn to ecstasy. And I think you're doing just the right thing in terms of, if it's not solid yet, this is the instruction, is to drench, steep, fill, and pervade your mind with that rapture. And it does start off as a little spark that comes up a little bit, like goosebumps even. There's 5 different types of piti, which are talked about. Like piti, which is just like goosebumps. Piti, which elevates, where you almost feel like you're floating. Piti, which is like the ocean, just lapping the mind. Piti, which is like a thunderclap. So you have all these different levels and flavors of joy. And starting off small, okay, you've got multiple sticky notes, and learning and listening. At this phase that you're talking about, listening will be a huge part of practice. We come into our meditation so manipulative. We try to tweak and twerk and turn things so willfully, but it just doesn't work. You can't force the timeline very much. It's really just listening a lot. Okay, what is that? What did I just say that brought about this feeling? Where am I feeling it? Okay, what does that feel like? How can I bring that up again? And then training in that. And sometimes, yeah, certainly on the level of mind, as monks we do keep the precept of not singing, but what goes on in my heart, I also have melodies in my heart which do engender that. So like a note even will bring about that goosebumps, which is a flavor of piti. So yeah, leaning into that, seeing what it is, and listening and being open to what the answer is. Because there are lots of books written about metta, but there has not been enough written. And there's been almost certainly nothing written about your metta. So yeah, what is your metta like, and how do you feel it in the body, and where do you feel it in the body? What does it say? So I think you're doing great, Eugene, and just keep doing it, keep paying attention. Okay. Yeah, please, maybe this, yeah, please.
Hi. In situations that atrocities are being committed against people in the world, for example, Iran right now, I find myself, thinking about that multiple times a day. And my first reaction is, the anger, the hate, the despise against the government that is doing all these atrocities against people. And then turning myself back around to go to metta, like literally, change the direction of that energy into metta for the innocent people. And then the next level farther than that, for the people that are committing this, very difficult, right? And so I'm doing this loop multiple times a day, and it's taking a lot out of me. So.
What is your name? I've seen you, but don't know your name yet.
Neda.
Neda.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for sharing.
Sure.
That's very, very powerful. And starting with that, whether they are weak or strong. And when you start off, yeah, I would hope we can all let our hearts be that big, to certainly include what seem like the weak, people on the being oppressed side of things, opening our hearts that big, and that is compassion and noticing your own capability. So that empathetic distress, when it starts to, as Christine was saying, compassion can give energy, but when it starts to suck energy, like if you're thinking about it too much, then stepping back, and if that second step that you said, actually seeing the weakness of the oppressor. The oppressors are weak, and that's why they're oppressing. If they were really strong, then they wouldn't need to oppress. And being able to take that next heart step or turn the heart around, that's very, very, thank you for sharing that. And stepping back, having this, what's called like taking one step up, or a little bit of meta awareness, single T, M-E-T-A, just a little bit up to see, actually, is this way that I'm letting others into my heart, this sharing of my heart with others, is it giving energy? Is it making me be able to participate in a more whole way with the world? Or is it actually encumbering and kind of disenabling my capacity to be with the world? And if watching news does the latter, then watch less news. But if watching news to some extent, in some channels, in certain ways, actually does give the former, then yeah, pay attention to that. So thank you. Nada? Nida, thank you. Yeah, so thank you all very much. And I think we might want to start to wrap up. We'll just encourage everybody. We will, in 5 or 10 minutes, have a potluck. And we just encourage everybody. This is a really self-selecting and beautiful group of people who do care about the heart, do care about loving kindness. So we can talk about anything we want. And sometimes a prompt can be nice. So we just give this prompt as a possibility to any of you who maybe you go up to somebody who you don't know, which we do encourage, which is also fun, which is also an adventure. And just say, oh yeah, what was your what? What does your metta say? And who is your metta for? And where does it come from? So any of those, it's a conversation icebreaker. Ice to water, water to air. Break that ice. So also to continue this opening up of the heart, something we do every Saturday, which hopefully we can do every day, is the blessing braid, is bringing other people into our sphere, our second circle. Oh, Juanita. Yeah. So we have a list on our website. You can add names to it. It's in blessing braid. Add people who are going through a hard time in their life. And Trenton, if you'd be willing to read that. And people can just open your hearts and dedicate any goodness that you've done today, this week, this month, to the people that are named.
We have Sid going through period of transition in life, including a big move. Spread care from the Ajahns. For Charlie, Yun Chao Shu, going through a major life transition and relocation. May they be timely, smooth, and safe. May wisdom and non-harm prevail. And that's from that person. For Mike, for a lung transplant from Cynthia. For Sandra, awaiting results from biopsy. Please spread metta for good health from Yanet. And for Alicia and Annie. For Alicia, that passed last Saturday. For well-being for my dog, Annie. And in Thanksgiving, for the monks that have completed their 2,300-mile walk for peace, from Gail.
Thank you, Trenton. And please, Juanita. Thank you. From Chanita's mother, Yu's mother in Thailand. Thank you. Yeah, so anyone else can name other names to bring into this space? Yeah, Milo. Dave, Will, and Madeline. What's his name? Dilok. Dilok in Thailand, in the hospital. Carol, going through cancer treatment. Matt. Jim, who's dying. Yeah, Lynn. Barbara. Scott, Michelle, and Shala. Mary. Martha and Martin. Martha, 2 Marthas. Gail. Emily. Yeah, Johnny. Jeremy just passed away. Okay, let's sit with those names and anyone who we didn't name. keeping this motion of the heart and letting it come into the space with chanting on page 33, the verses of sharing and aspiration. So this is sharing or dedicating the goodness of our lives to anyone who's suffering and those who aren't suffering as well. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. And is anybody here for the first, second, or third time? If you are, might you be so bold and willing to just raise your hand and say your name and how you heard about Clear Mountain, please? Yeah, please. Oh. All right. What was your name again? Welcome. Wow, Ray, welcome. That was great. Second circle. And what was your name again? Leo, welcome. Awesome. David, welcome. Sadhu. Nomi. Nice, Eden. Welcome. And it's good to see you. Jack, yes. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, please. All right, welcome back, John. Welcome, Luisa. Sadhu. Okay, so now it's time for the potluck, and please do see if you can make one of the first people who you talk to be somebody who you don't know. See if you can ask them about the who, what, and where of their practice, of their metta, and loving kindness towards fish. Today is Happy Scalentine's Day. For those who want to, we can bow. We can wave goodbye to the people on Zoom. Bye, Zoomy. And Zoom people can stick around for the Zoom happy hour, tea time, coffee hour.